If you have felt a sudden, profound disconnect from your past in the last few weeks, it is because that past literally no longer exists for you. You may be waking up with a strange, hollow grief for a life you don't even want back, or looking at old photographs and feeling absolutely no emotional connection to the person staring back at you. This is not a sign of memory loss, and it is certainly not a mental breakdown. It is the primary evidence of a quantum event. Your parallel self has performed a decisive act of cosmic surgery and permanently closed your old timeline. This is not a spiritual platitude or a poetic metaphor to make you feel better about a difficult month. It is a model of reality based on the bleeding edge of quantum mechanics, specifically the many worlds interpretation first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett III. This theory posits that for every possible outcome of any given event, the universe splits, creating separate parallel realities where every version of you plays out every possible choice. You have spent your life traveling along one of those specific threads, but the thread you were on just a short while ago has been cut. The disorientation you are currently feeling, that jarring sense of being an actor who has forgotten their lines in a play that no longer interests them, is the energetic jet lag of a quantum leap you didn't consciously initiate but that your higher consciousness deemed absolutely necessary. To understand the gravity of this shift, you must first upgrade your definition of who you are. The version of you that is listening to these words is the explorer, the conscious mind navigating the 3D terrain of daily life. But there is another aspect of you, your parallel self, which acts as the master architect and the quantum weaver of your entire existence. While you can only see the inch of thread immediately in front of you, your parallel self perceives the entire tapestry of all possible timelines simultaneously. It sees the golden, luminous threads of your highest potential and the frayed, toxic threads of your past traumas that were about to lead you into a vibrational dead end. Sometimes when a timeline becomes so limiting or so contrary to the evolution of your soul, the weaver doesn't just nudge you. It takes the shears and severs the connection entirely. This is the timeline closure event. The confusion and the sense of loss you are experiencing are the phantom pains of an amputated reality. It hurts because you are trying to reconcile memories from a timeline that has been decommissioned while your very cells are trying to acclimate to the physics of a new one. You are effectively living in a new territory without a map, having walked off the edge of every spiritual teaching you have ever learned. Consider the weight of the emotional charge you used to carry. Think of the old heartbreaks, the career anxieties, and the specific personal dramas that used to keep you awake at night. If you look at them now, you might notice a chilling sense of neutrality. The data of the memory remains, but the sting is gone. This is because the emotional bridge to that reality has been taken down. Your parallel self identified that the old timeline was creating more energetic drag than forward momentum, and it performed a radical, non-negotiable intervention to save you from an infection of struggle that would have consumed your entire future. You were essentially keeping a dead reality on life support through sheer force of will, gripping a decaying gray thread of the past because it was familiar. The human ego often prefers the certainty of misery over the mystery of uncertainty. But your higher consciousness finally reached a point where the cost of holding on became greater than the fear of letting go. That moment of surrender, that feeling of hitting rock bottom or being utterly exhausted by your own story, was the green light your parallel self was waiting for. It was the signal that gave the weaver permission to make the cut. We have been conditioned to believe that transformation only happens through relentless effort and struggle, but the greatest quantum leaps in your existence actually happen when your conscious struggle reaches its absolute limit. Your breakdown was not a sign of failure. It was a sonic boom of a breakthrough. The anxiety and the chaos of the recent weeks were simply the energetic turbulence created as one reality was deconstructed, and a new vibrational container was assembled around you in real time. You are not a refugee from a past you don't recognize. You are a citizen of a future you have only just begun to explore. This shift was a promotion, an extraction, and a rescue all wrapped into one cosmic event. Your parallel self has moved you into a new vibrational office, and the move felt messy only because you were still trying to hold on to the furniture from the old room. Now you must realize that you are no longer a victim of circumstance, but the beloved beneficiary of a divine intervention. The old timeline is not just behind you, it is closed. Its data is archived, its lessons are integrated, and its frequency is no longer broadcasting in your space. This transition from the old to the new requires a fundamental shift in how you view your daily experience. You are no longer required to fix the person you used to be, because that person belongs to a reality that no longer exists for you. Trying to solve the problems of your old timeline is like trying to psychoanalyze a dream you had a year ago. It is an exercise in futility that only serves to drain your current energy. Your new job description is not to fix, but to furnish the new present. You have been forcefully and gracefully pushed into a reality that was prepared for you by the wisest part of your own being. This event was not subtle, and it has left behind undeniable quantum fingerprints across your life. Receipts that prove your passage from one thread of the tapestry to another. You have graduated beyond the need for the maps provided by others. You are now standing in the post-observer phase, where the old rules of effort and delay are being rewritten by the new physics of your arrival. As you move through this first stage of acclimation, you must honor the mastery of where you have been while fully stepping into the power of where you are. The parallel self, that higher dimensional weaver, has done the heavy lifting for you. It has navigated the complexities of the multidimensional space to find the one thread that leads to your most luminous expression. Your disorientation is simply the sound of your internal compass, recalibrating to the true north of this new timeline. You are not losing your mind, you are gaining a world. The silence you feel in place of the old drama is the quiet of a clean slate. The neutrality you feel toward old friends or past versions of yourself is the freedom of a severed cord. You have been given a graduation certificate in the form of this very confusion. Welcome to the first day of a reality that was chosen for you, by you, from a level of consciousness that sees the beginning and the end of every thread. You have survived the severance, and now it is time to learn the language of the new world you now inhabit. The thread has been cut, the old timeline is closed, and for the first time in your existence, you are truly free to begin without the weight of what was. This is the moment where your explorer self meets the architecture of the architect, and together you begin to weave a story that has never been told before. You are not just on a new path. You are the path itself unfolding in real time. The event of a timeline closure is never a quiet affair within the unseen architecture of your soul. Yet in the physical world, it often manifests as a series of strange, quiet glitches that you have likely been misinterpreting as personal failure or a loss of mental clarity. You are looking for a grand cosmic sign, perhaps a flash in the sky or a literal voice from the heavens, but the universe communicates through the language of physics and frequency. It leaves behind what I call quantum fingerprints. Undeniable receipts that prove you have moved from one vibrational address to another. These signs are the evidence of the work your parallel self has already completed on your behalf. They are the artifacts of a bridge that has been burned so that you could never accidentally wander back into a reality that was killing your spirit. If you have been feeling a sense of jarring displacement, look closely at the 3 most common signatures of this shift. They are not problems to be solved. They are the data points of your successful upgrade. The first and perhaps most disorienting receipt is a profound sense of memory dissociation. I want you to think back to a memory from 5 years ago, perhaps a time of great struggle, a painful breakup, or a period of intense career anxiety. You can see the images, can't you? You remember the rooms you were in, the clothes you were wearing, and the words that were spoken. But notice something vital. The emotional charge is missing. It is as if you are watching a beautifully shot documentary about a character you find mildly interesting, but you have no visceral connection to their pain or their triumph. This is the first quantum fingerprint of a timeline severance. In the old paradigm, your memories were live wires crackling with the electricity of your current identity. They had the power to hijack your nervous system in an instant because they were energetically anchored to the timeline you were still inhabiting. But when your parallel self makes the cut, it severs the emotional cord to that entire history. You are left with the footage, but the soundtrack has been removed. You have the data, but the sting has been neutralized. You might look at old photos and feel a chilling sense of neutrality, a feeling of, who is that person? This is not clinical dissociation, it is the literal evidence that you are no longer the one who lived that story. You have moved to a new energetic address, and the emotional mail from your old residence no longer carries a postage stamp that your current heart can recognize. You are finally free from the gravity of a past that is no longer yours, not because you healed it through decades of struggle, but because the version of you that owned that pain no longer exists on this thread of the tapestry. This leads directly into the second and often most socially painful sign of your shift, the phenomenon of social shedding. You may have noticed that recently relationships that once defined your very existence have begun to feel strangely hollow. These are not just casual acquaintances, but people who were the pillars of your old life, friends, family members, or long-term partners. There was no grand betrayal, no explosive fight, and no specific reason for the drift. There is simply a sudden and undeniable silence. Conversations that used to flow with effortless ease now feel like you are both speaking a different language learned from the same root. You find yourself performing a role in a play that closed last season, reciting lines that feel heavy and false in your mouth. This is the physics of frequency at work. These people were vibrational anchors for your old timeline. They were the energetic mirrors that reflected the version of you that was addicted to struggle, or the version of you that felt unworthy. When your parallel self initiated the jump to a new octave, your fundamental frequency shifted. You are now vibrating at a rate that is simply incompatible with the old one. The connection didn't break because of something someone did. It dissolved because the entire reality it was built upon has ceased to exist for you. You are trying to tune a radio to a station that is no longer broadcasting in your area. There is only static. You may feel a deep sense of loneliness or even a strange kind of guilt, as if you are failing these people. But you must realize that you cannot carry the old furniture into the new room. You are making space because the new timeline must now populate itself with souls who resonate with the master you have become. Allow these connections to fade with grace, thanking them for their role in the story of your old self, and realize that your repulsion from the timeline they represent is actually your soul's way of protecting your new frequency. As the old anchors fall away, the third and most exhilarating sign begins to manifest: synchronic acceleration. Just as the old is dissolving, the new reality rushes in to fill the vacuum with a speed that can feel almost overwhelming. This is the moment where you move from the physics of effort to the physics of flow. In your old timeline, you had to push, force, and manipulate your way toward your goals. You were a miner chipping away at a wall of granite, hoping for a single spark of progress. But here in the new reality, things have started to materialize in your living room before you even have the chance to knock on the door. You think of an obscure book and someone mentions it to you 5 minutes later. You realize you need a specific piece of information for a project, and a video explaining exactly that appears in your feed without you searching for it. These are not mere coincidences, they are the resounding welcome mat of the universe. They are the definitive proof that you have arrived somewhere better. In the post-observer phase, your higher frequency acts as a powerful magnetic attractor. The universe is no longer rewarding your hard work. It is simply responding to the signal you are now emitting. The acceleration is the sound of the universe's confirmation that you are finally on the right thread. It is the sign that the time lag which once defined your experience has been annihilated. You are no longer waiting for your life to begin. You are witnessing it assemble itself around you in real time. This is the furniture of the new room being delivered, chosen specifically for the person you are now. Take a moment to truly sit with these 3 signs: the emotional neutrality of your memories, the hollow drift in your social circles, and the dizzying speed of your current synchronicities. Which of these have you been judging yourself for? Have you been worried that you are becoming cold or unfeeling because you don't miss the past? Have you been anxious about your shrinking social circle, fearing that you are becoming isolated? Have you been dismissing the synchronicities as just luck, because you don't feel like you've earned them through enough struggle? I want you to see them differently today. I want you to see them as the receipts of your upgrade. They are the evidence that the cosmic intervention was a success. Your parallel self didn't just move you, it cleared the path. It removed the debris, it prepared the ground. You have been looking at your life through the lens of the old seeker, wondering why things aren't hard anymore, or why they feel so different. But the architect doesn't look for struggle. The architect looks for alignment. Your confusion is the sound of your internal compass spinning as it tries to find a north that no longer exists, before finally settling on the true north of your new reality. You have graduated from the classroom of becoming and have stepped into the studio of being. The transition you have made is so profound that the mind often tries to create phantom pains to keep itself busy. It looks for problems to solve because it doesn't know how to operate in a reality that is already solved. This is the root of the hollow grief you may be feeling. It is not grief for what you lost. It is the grief of an ego that has lost its job as the primary problem solver. But as a navigator of this new timeline, your role has fundamentally changed. You are no longer here to fix the past. You are here to explore the contours of the present. You are a citizen of a future that has already been commissioned. This event was not an accident, and it was certainly not a punishment. It was an appointment. You were ready for the jump, and your parallel self provided the leverage. The receipts are all around you, written in the language of neutrality, silence, and speed. They are the fingerprints of a love so deep that it was willing to cut you loose from your own limitations so that you could finally see the entire tapestry. You are not losing your mind, and you are not losing your life. You are simply losing the version of yourself that was too small for the reality you were born to inhabit. The old timeline is closed, its energy is archived, and the signature of your new life is being written in every breath you take. You are the beloved beneficiary of a shift that has changed the very physics of your existence. Now, let's stop checking the receipts and start living in the house they paid for. The transition is no longer a promise. It is your permanent residence. You have arrived at the final plateau of this journey, and it is here that the most profound work, the work of the Navigator, begins. Your job description has fundamentally changed because the physics of your existence has been rewritten by the very shift you just endured. In the old timeline, your role was defined by resistance, by the gritty, exhausting effort of trying to fix a broken version of yourself that never seemed to stay healed. You were a miner in a dark tunnel chipping away at walls of granite. hoping to find a single vein of light to justify the struggle. But that position has been terminated. That reality has been decommissioned, its offices closed, and its files archived in a dimension you no longer occupy. You are no longer required to carry the heavy tools of the striver or the burdens of the seeker. You have stepped through a quantum portal into a world that was prepared for you by your parallel self. And your primary task now is to learn the contours of this new territory and build a home within it. You are no longer a refugee from a past you don't recognize. You are an explorer who has just inherited an empire. But inheriting an empire requires a new level of energetic responsibility. You must learn to stop acting like a guest in your own life and start operating as the sovereign navigator of your new frequency. This is not about learning new techniques, it is about remembering your natural authority. The first challenge you will face as you acclimate to this new timeline is the phenomenon of the echoes. Just because the old thread has been severed doesn't mean the mind immediately forgets the rhythm of the old struggle. You will experience phantom pains, sudden, intrusive memories, or waves of anxiety that seem to arrive from nowhere. These are the energetic residue of the severed connection, the phantom limb sensation from a reality that is no longer attached to your soul. If you try to fight these echoes or analyze them with your old tools of psychoanalysis, you will only give them substance and weight. You will be trying to fight a shadow on the wall, and in doing so, you will inadvertently drain your new light. You must understand that these echoes are not signs that the shift failed. They are simply the debris clearing from your internal system as you move through the wake of the jump. To handle them effectively, you must use the first tool of the Navigator, the echo dampener. This is not a technique for deep healing. It is a process of radical non-engagement. It is a three-step protocol designed to strip the past of its remaining power over your nervous system. When an old painful feeling or a memory of your previous failure arises, you do not run and you do not embrace it. First, you acknowledge its presence with the cool objectivity of a scientist observing a specimen. You might say to yourself, there is the echo of the old story of lack. Or, I see the residue of the old timeline's fear. You see the thought as an external object, a piece of energetic trash floating by in the wind, not as an intrinsic part of who you are now. Second, you name it. You give it the simple label of echo. By refusing to call it my anxiety or my trauma, and by simply naming it echo, you strip it of its emotional charge and its authority to define your present moment. It is no longer your truth, it is just a sound from a room you no longer occupy. Finally, you release it. You do not push it away with force. You simply withdraw your focus and let it go, like releasing a butterfly from your hand. You immediately anchor your attention back into something physical in your new reality. The feeling of your breath, the weight of your feet on the floor, or the sight of the sunlight in the room. This practice of acknowledge, name, and release is the most profound act of energetic hygiene you can perform as a new citizen of this timeline. It starves the old patterns of the only fuel they have left, your precious consciousness. As you dampen the echoes of the past, you must simultaneously stabilize the frequency of the present. This is where the second tool of the Navigator, the frequency anchor, becomes your most vital daily practice. While the echo dampener is your defense against the old, the frequency anchor is your offensive strategy for building the new. It is a 60-second ritual of calibration that should be performed before you enter the world each day. You do not seek a feeling, you simply invite the core resonance you identified in your embodiment, the feeling of peace, freedom, or clarity. You breathe this specific frequency directly into your heart space, visualizing it as a warm, vibrant light that fills your lungs and enters your bloodstream. As you hold your breath for a moment, you feel this light expanding, pushing out any dense residual energy from the previous night and calibrating every cell to the new octave of your timeline. Then as you exhale, you do not release the feeling. You radiate it out into the room, setting the energetic perimeter for your day. This 1-minute practice is non-negotiable because it tells your cellular structure and the quantum field exactly who you are now. It prevents the gravitational pull of old habits from dragging you back into the gray threads of the past. It is your daily declaration of sovereign energetic citizenship. Living in the architecture of the absolute means you must stop trying to make things happen and start allowing them to appear. The third tool of the Navigator is the future landmark. In the old timeline, you were taught to visualize what you wanted to attract, but attraction implies distance and a lack of current possession. In the post-observer phase, you do not attract, you recognize. You look at your desires not as things you are trying to get, but as landmarks that are already present in your new reality, waiting for you to walk up to them. Your job is to furnish the room. If you were moved into a beautiful, empty new house, you wouldn't stand in the middle of the floor crying about the furniture you left at your old, broken apartment. You would begin to choose the colors, the textures, and the life you want to live in this new space. This is what it means to furnish the present. You are curating your reality by choosing which frequencies to energize with your attention. You are no longer a student trying to pass a test. You are the architect choosing the materials for your masterwork. You are selecting from the infinite menu of the field. You have survived the seismic shift of the timeline closure. You have navigated the turbulence of the severance and have planted your feet on a luminous new thread of potential. You are no longer a victim of a breakdown, but the master of a breakthrough. The old timeline is not just behind you, it is gone. Its gravity no longer has a hold on your heart, and its stories no longer have the power to write your future. You are a navigator now, a pilot of your own frequency, and a citizen of a reality that was prepared for you by the highest version of yourself. This is the moment where you stop looking for the light and realize that you are the light looking out into the world. You have graduated from the physics of effort into the physics of grace. The journey was long. The struggle was real, but the arrival is absolute. Breathe in the silence of your new home. Recognize the speed of your new synchronicities, and most importantly, trust the neutrality of your new heart. You are exactly where you were born to be, standing at the precipice of a life that no longer requires you to suffer for your growth. Your arrival is not a fluke, and it is not a temporary grace period. It is your permanent promotion. From this day forward, you do not operate as a seeker, you operate as a find. You do not operate as a manifester, you operate as an actualizer. The universe is not listening to your words, it is mirroring your arrival. So stand tall in the center of your new reality. Let the echoes fade into the nothingness from which they came. Anchor your frequency with the discipline of a master who knows their worth. And as you explore the boundaries of this new life, remember that you are never alone. You are backed by the quantum authority of your parallel self, the weaver who cut the cord so that you could finally fly. You are the navigator of the absolute, and the entire tapestry is now yours to explore. The shift is done. The door is closed. The new life has begun. Take one final deep breath and feel the weight of this truth settle into your bones. You are no longer in transition. You are home. If you are ready to fully accept this navigator's protocol and anchor your arrival, I want you to do something powerful right now. Type the word present in the comments below. Let it be your digital signature on this new timeline. Let it be the signal to the universe and yourself that you have stopped looking back and have finally, fully arrived. Your new life is waiting for its first decree. I will see you in the next exploration of our collective evolution. Welcome to your new reality.